How do you figure out what someone's really about? Is it what they say, or is it the path they've walked? Today, we're diving into the story of Bob Singleton, a guy whose life philosophy wasn't just thought up, it was forged in the fires of hard work, a major crisis, and this just relentless drive to create.
For him, it all boils down to this one question he asked himself: who am I, as I really am? It's so simple, right? But it's deep. And that's the question we're going to follow like a thread to understand what really makes him tick. All right, so here's our roadmap. We'll look at where it all began, then a huge challenge that changed everything. We'll see how that led to some amazing innovation, and then a total pivot into public service. Think of each part as a piece of the puzzle, and the puzzle is a life that's still unfolding.
Okay, first up, a life of questions. Let's dig into where it all started, right? The experiences that really shaped his core beliefs from the get-go.
So, let's get into it. Forged in work and tech. Every philosophy has to start somewhere. For Bob, it started in two places that couldn't be more different. One was the dirt of a family farm, and the other was the wiring of a brand new tech world. So growing up on a farm, you can imagine, right? You see the results of your work right in front of you, and you absolutely have to rely on your community. He talked about how this is where he got his work ethic. It wasn't just about getting a job done. It was about contributing to something bigger. And that idea, that core principle, it stuck with him his whole life.
And you can see that work ethic play out in his career. It wasn't just a one-and-done thing. It was all about constantly learning and changing. Look at this timeline. He starts as a telecommunications officer way back in 1977. Fast forward a couple decades, and he's mastering Microsoft servers. Then, even later, he's writing database projects for university. The big takeaway here? You gotta keep learning. You gotta adapt. And check this out. This really tells the story. On the left, you've got his certificate from 1977. On the right, a Microsoft certificate from way later. This isn't just a guy collecting pieces of paper. This is someone who didn't just get by during massive tech changes. He went out and mastered them. That's a huge difference.
All right, so now we get to a major turning point. Every life has one, right? A moment that just changes everything. For Bob, it was a sudden crisis that would push him to his absolute limits and honestly forge a whole new person. It was a life-changing motor vehicle accident. And truly life-changing. He was in the hospital for a full year. The recovery was just brutal, tons of painful rehab, and he deals with the physical effects even now. But here's the thing. He says, these difficulties didn't stop me at all. Think about that. The physical part was one battle, but the mental one, that was something else. What he built in that hospital room wasn't just the ability to walk again. It was this unbreakable will, this mental fortitude to go out and build a completely new life for himself. And that strength he found, it wasn't just to get him through recovery. No way. It became the foundation for his entire next act. He channeled all of that resilience into the guts it takes to start a tech company from the ground up. And he did it. He started a company called BizTel, and it wasn't just some small-time thing. It became a leading manufacturer of communication products in Australia. His company even got featured in this book, Computer Excellence. That's some serious recognition. And we're not talking about small tweaks here. His company, BizTel, was the first in Australia to design single-chip modems. That was a huge deal back then, a real game-changer for efficiency. They were winning awards like the modem of choice from PC World, and even developing custom stuff for huge companies like Sharp and Toshiba. It just shows you, that mindset he forged after his accident, it turned directly into incredible real-world results.
So this constant drive to make things better, there's actually a name for it. It's called Kaizen. It's a Japanese philosophy all about continuous improvement. It's not about making one giant leap. Instead, it's about taking small, smart steps every single day to get better and better. It fits perfectly with what we saw earlier in his career, right? That constant adaptation. And this isn't just some fancy word he throws around. You can literally see this Kaizen philosophy in how he designs things today. Why use high-quality parts? Well, so things don't break later. Why make a device that runs on its own without the cloud? For reliability, pure and simple. Everything, even making sure it exceeds safety standards, is a small, deliberate choice to make the final product better. That's Kaizen, right there in the real world. So after all that, a successful career in tech, building a company, you'd think, okay, time to retire, right? Put your feet up. But that's not his style. He calls this next phase of his life his third age. And it's not about winding down. It's about finding a whole new purpose.
So you've got this choice. On one hand, conventional retirement. Rest, relaxation, enjoy what you've earned. But on the other hand, you have his idea of a third age. And for him, that means answering a higher calling. It's a commitment to serve the community that's always been there for him.
And where does this idea come from? Well, he actually pulls inspiration from way back, from the Roman statesman Cicero. The quote says it all. There is no more higher calling for a citizen than the call to public service. It's this ancient idea that's driving his very modern mission.
And he's taking what he learned in business and applying it to civic life. Back in business, you learn to negotiate. So now, when he's faced with a tricky local issue, his goal isn't to fight for one side. It's to find that sweet spot, that solution where everyone wins. It's about building bridges, not picking fights.
And this is not just talk. He puts his time where his mouth is. He ran for local council. He was nominated for Central West Senior of the Year. He was appointed to the board for Meals on Wheels. These are real actions. They show that his philosophy of service is something he truly lives.
Okay, so let's put it all together. We've gone from the farm to the tech world to community service. And when you look at it all, you start to see his philosophy take shape. But it's not some dusty old rulebook. It's a living, breathing guide for a journey that's definitely not over.
So, back to that original question. Who is the real Bob Singleton? Well, here it is, in his own words. He can adapt. He knows he's flawed and makes mistakes. He has a social conscience, but also a strong will. And, this is the key, he's going to keep learning, keeping challenged, and keep trying to contribute. You can see every part of his story in that self-assessment, can't you?
So, we've unpacked how a life's journey can build a philosophy, piece by piece, which, of course, brings it all back to you. It makes you think, doesn't it? What are the core principles that are guiding your journey?